benefit is for surviving spouses, veterans, or veterans and spouses that are wartime veterans. They did not have to be in combat, but they had to serve during World War II or Korea or Vietnam. World War I think most are gone now, but bottom line is any wartime that this country's been in, it's for people 65 and older. You do not have to be totally disabled, but if they're under 65, they do have to be totally disabled on Social Security disability. But it's a subsidy to help them with their living cost because they have needs in their life. And the government came to the realization that they no longer had veterans homes or nursing homes to take care of people as they got older, and the veterans and their spouses were living longer, so they opened the benefit up. And so basically, we work with senior living facilities, assisted living facilities, and nursing homes, but mainly the senior living and assisted living buildings, and help with their residents get the benefits so they can offset their cost of care. And we're working right now in 3 states with 83 different buildings, and so we do a lot of traveling, and we do a lot of seminars that we put on and educate the public that if they want to move into facilities like we're at, that there is help there for them to offset their cost of care. But there has to be it's not health insurance, but there has to be a health need. They have to have assistance that they need in their daily living. They have to walk with a cane, a walker. They have health problems of some kind. It has to be linked to some type of health condition. And again, the surviving spouses, the benefit now has gone up to $1,094 a month. For three years, it was at $1,056. And for a veteran with a spouse and the veteran needs help, it's over $2,000 now. That's a pension, tax-free, to help them offset their cost of care.
All right. So, all right, I know there are qualifications to get this.
Yes.
What are they?
First of all, they had to be a wartime veteran, and they had to have served 90 days active duty outside of boot camp. So once they got out of boot camp, they had to be in the military for 90 days, and they had to serve 1 day during a wartime. So December 31 of 1946 is the official close of World War II. So if a person came into December 31. So if a person came into the military, signed up December 30th of 1946, and then spent a year in the service or 2 years in the service after that, even though the war was over, they served 1 day during wartime, they would qualify. They did not, again, have to be in combat. They did have to be in during a wartime. They have to have a health need, one daily, as they say, ADLs, activities for daily living. There has to be some need in their life, health-wise, that creates the need for a care provider. And then they look at their income and their fixed monthly income, Social Security, pensions, annuities, things that they get consistently every month, and they offset that by their cost of medical care that's not paid for by insurance companies. So we can look at their Medicare Part B premiums. We can look at their Part D premiums. We can look at any supplement premium that they would have, as well as if they're moving into an assisted living facility and they have a $3,000 a month cost there, that becomes a medical cost. And if their income is equal to, or their cost of care is equal to their income or greater than their income, they get the full benefit. And the assets, really assets have not been the major issue, because as long as their assets are under $1 million per person liquid, something can be done with them. Because with this benefit, the VA, excuse me again, the VA does not have a look back. So money can be transferred to their children's name or moved around, and then the next day apply for the benefit. So
219-845-1100. Don Heckwein and Stephen Searing are in the house if you have any questions about this. All right, let's just look at the dates. Vietnam War, that was a long one.
Yes, it was.
So what is it, like 8 years or something?
Well, Vietnam is the only one that there's actually 2 different situations there. You've got in August of 1964 through May of 1975 is actually the period of time that they consider, if you were in during that time, you did not have to be in Vietnam. Okay, so that's considered the wartime. But from February of 1961 through May, or actually through August of 64, during that period they had advisors in the country of Vietnam. So if a person served in Vietnam and was in the country of Vietnam from 61 through 64, they would also qualify. But from 64 through 70, what did I just say, 70?
75.
So
75.
for 11 years,
Yes.
basically. Wow. Yeah, it shows you how long that conflict was.
Right.
So if anybody served in during that time, they're eligible for this benefit.
Yes, they are.
All right. So let's look at some of the other dates. What about Korea?
Korea,
June
What?
27th, 1950 to January 31st, 1955.
It's almost 5 years there.
right.
And
What about Desert Storm? Is that possible?
Now, Desert Storm, Iraq, Afghanistan, if there's a veteran that is disabled, okay, and because most of these veterans are under 65, one of the qualifiers of this benefit is 65 and older to not be fully disabled. But if you're under 65, they're disabled, they're drawing Social Security disability, it's an automatic. Okay, so yes, those wars do count, but the age is going to be a factor there unless they're disabled. But once the veterans get to the age of 65, then they count the same as the other wars do. And there's another thing too. A person during these wars, there are civilian jobs that the military contracted with that people are qualified for this benefit. Merchant Marines during World War II. The Navy did not have enough ships to literally bring supplies to all the fronts because of Europe and the islands. So they hired Merchant Marine, which were civilian ships, merchants, boats, to deliver supplies. So if they were in a civilian job but were contracted by the military into one of these fronts, they also could qualify. Flight attendants, pilots that were contracted to fly into combat zones and to pull troops out, they also could be qualified for this benefit. So we look at the Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Air Force, Coast Guard, but there are other situations where people could possibly qualify.
We're working with a client now in home in Chicago whose husband was a Merchant Marine, whose ship was dispatched for Navy use. So yes, I mean, there's all kinds of people. It's very interesting.